Alright guys, HyDra again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. Arguably the most important day of this year's World Championship in terms of what's going to be happening after the event concludes is coming up today. 6 teams remain right now. 2 teams only will remain at the end of the day. 5 matches on our hands, including some absolute bangers. Not least, Toronto versus FaZe. Loser goes home on this one, top 6. Remarkable set of storylines. Big questions raised in terms of which team, whoever loses this, might have to make some serious changes. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy, subscribe if you're new as always. Big thank you as well to Underdog Fantasy for supporting the content this weekend. If you guys are looking to get involved in daily fantasy sports for the last couple of days of the season, this is the place to be. You've got your higher lowers, and of course you've also got the rivals features, right? Simp is still in action today, the MVP of the tournament, but that may not necessarily be the case for the World Championship weekend MVP, right? They usually do the regular season MVP, then they do the end of season, post-season champs MVP, and well, HyDra was certainly making his thoughts very clear on that yesterday. Lines, of course, available across all sorts of sports and esports, of course, the Formula 1 as well as coming up this weekend. Also, the race there is tomorrow. So if you guys run any of the eligible locations and looking to sign up, use code RAB and gain your special pick and deposit match offer up to $250 in bonus cash. Let's dive straight on with the video because, wow, do we have a lot to talk about today. Firstly, Crimsix, the man himself, the greatest of all time, whatever you want to say, he's there at the World Championship. Formal is here, Crimsix is here, Karma is here and Scump is here, right? I'm pretty sure this weekend. Well, I mean, I haven't seen Formal in person, but I saw that he was at the event, I'm pretty sure, or at least he popped by earlier in the weekend. And Crimsix was there yesterday, wearing, by the way, an OpTic jersey. I don't know if you guys thought there was anything in this, probably not, but, you know, he walked past our setup, went over to, you know, chat with some other guys, had a brief convo, meet with Bella as well. I thought it was actually really nice to see this. And, you know, Crim's looking great, obviously, he's lost lots of weight, but the fact that he was there with the OpTic jersey, I was like, yeah, wow, this is quite something, right? Like an old school OpTic jersey. He's obviously kind of with FaZe still, it's kind of a thing, but I don't know if that's going to last for too much longer, right? And there's a feeling that maybe at some point Crim may well return to OpTic, and here he is in Dallas with the OpTic jersey on and, you know, meeting with some of the guys again. So I thought that was really nice. There were another couple of pictures they were better with Scrappy as well, of course, who, well, big day for him today, because if that Toronto team loses, you cannot possibly imagine that's going to be the same roster they're going to be going into next season with. This I thought was pretty funny as well. For the Shulston noticed here, someone in the crowd calling Ghosty a traitor. You know, obviously the reality is, bro didn't want to leave OpTic necessarily. He was removed from the OpTic team, but you've got to wonder whether with Ghosty, the way that he's playing right now, obviously that Los Angeles Thieves team lost in the remarkable way to OpTic Texas yesterday, but I'm sure that Thieves will be thinking, okay, if they either make a run or don't, Ghosty potentially could have some serious offers on the table, right? Because if it's likely that some of these top teams, and it is likely that one of Toronto or FaZe is going to make some relatively wholesale changes, if that does occur, then you've got to think that Ghosty is a consideration for some of those teams. So, you know, okay, he didn't leave OpTic of his own will, but he may leave Thieves of his own will, depending how things go over the next few hours or so, really. But speaking of OpTic as well, we've got to discuss the whole Dashy side of things. He talked about, you know, the crazy energy from the crowd yesterday, even the before and after, as OpTic did, when Joe Deceives gets the trade, I think it was, at the end of the game 2. And then, of course, well, the tune changed relatively quickly, and it was a really dominant reverse sweep as well. I think that's what will, you know, impress and please the OpTic guys, is that the way they reverse swept, it wasn't like they scraped by, you know, they 3-0'd the control, they won the hard point by 70 odd points, and they 6-3'd, I think it was 6-3 in the end, the final search and destroy. Kenny obviously was talking about this series, like, you know, excited for the event and stuff. I think for Kenny, he recognizes he's got to, on an individual level, play, you know, a little bit better, level things up just a little bit more, and, you know, because a couple of tweets here from Kenny worth looking at, really, that, you know, 2 tweets in a row, couldn't buy kill third map, least I could do is close out, which he did against Gorillas, and then, you know, played terrible and trolled with the bomb. So, you know, a couple of tweets in a row from Kenny recognizing, okay, not playing his best stuff, but today they play the Subliners, and I think generally Kenny plays well at champs, for sure, historically, plays well generally against the better teams as well. So I think today's a big day for Kenny, and he knows that himself. I think Dashy knows that as well. Like, if Priestahh and Shotzzy can just get some help, you know, they will be a serious challenge to the opposition. But, you know, right now you're looking at, let's say, the Subliners. You're looking at Kismet and HyDra. Kismet's probably going to play better than yesterday, let's be honest, against FaZe. Shotzzy and Priestahh, if they can continue their level, they can get that done against Kismet and HyDra, I would say, in terms of like pure matchup to matchup. But on the AR side, Simp has been cooking, and Skyz has been also making good plays. So I think it is really Kenny, like maybe Kenny especially, but also Dashy that need to step up because, you know, Simp has been performing very well as of late, and also Simp was a player that was never really considered for OpTic, but he was a player that a lot of the fans talked about, right? The possibility of having like, you know, Sib, Dashy, Pred and Shotzzy, that was talked about as a potential team. That never happened, right? Sib, of course, ends up on the Subliners, but that Sib versus Pred rivalry, could they're friends? Sure, but, you know, a bit of a rivalry nonetheless, was causing some questions still, because, you know, it wasn't that long ago that I think Pred and Sib were having a back and forth who was better at certain games. This is a big moment here, of course. Pred gets the 3-piece, and obviously OpTic end up bringing the reverse reback in crazy fashion, and obviously you want to win the event. If they come third now, OpTic, they pocket $320,000 each. Not too bad, but you know, first and second respectively, bit more than that, right? So a $2 million total prize pool, just more than what the Esports World Cup is going to be in a few weeks' time. But let's talk about this FaZe and Toronto situation, because if you'd have told me coming into the tournament that, you know, FaZe and Toronto would have been playing in a loser's game in round 2, I'd have been very surprised immediately. And the fact that a loser here goes home top 6 is just crazy stuff. But the scriptwriter's been working overtime for this one. I think for FaZe, you know, there were some concerns from this series, really, like losing both hardpoints the way they did, with Kiz having a 0.6. Like, you know, that is the issue, I think, for FaZe. I know there's been a lot of talk about Cellium lately. There's been talk about aBeZy. You know, the only player from FaZe who is, like, consistently playing at an unbelievable level really is Simp. And even, like, you can probably throw Drazah in that conversation as well over the last couple of months. So Simp says, look, GG's New York lost 3-2. But I can't imagine Simp is saying they're thinking, wow, like, we're still playing great COD, we're just going to make the run. I don't know what the confidence looks like at the FaZe camp right now, because it's very rare they lose at this point in tournaments. I still think they should be favoured against Toronto this evening. Like, Toronto, or this afternoon, right? I think it actually might be first game of the day. But Toronto have not been playing great lately. FaZe, I think, you know, to some degree, have been playing better COD. But on LAN, in front of this crowd, Toronto, like Scrappy versus Drazah, I still think like anything can kind of happen. And even though Simp was the MVP of the entire season, right, I'm sure that, you know, the team chemistry, they must be like taking some degree of dent, right? The way that things concluded yesterday, losing the series in the fashion that they did, and they can still make the run and they can still win this tournament. But you know, especially because Kismet had such a poor series, you're not expecting that from him again. And he says, yeah, like that's the tweet. Come on now, my teammates are absolute units and got me through that one for sure. But this is the point, right? Ultra versus FaZe for top 6. Someone's going to bow out, and FaZe, I mean, okay, let's just look at Simp and aBeZy. Their first 4 years in the Pro League, they made the finals every single time. They won in 2019, they were second place in 2020, won in 2021, second place in 2022. 2023, they were third. So, you know, of course, it was expected FaZe are going to be back in the finals, and I definitely think there's an argument to say that they could or should be, but, you know, I wouldn't say that's guaranteed today by any means. And I want to just share what the guys on the flank had to say about this, because, you know, there's been lots of criticism, and I think understandably, against these FaZe guys, and the fact that with the level of talent that they have, how are they not delivering? And I think there is a general feeling from some is that, you know, sometimes you team together for so long, it just isn't going to quite yield the same results anymore. And the implication, therefore, is that maybe a roster change is needed, especially if they lose this tournament.
No one's doing it.
Yeah, I think New York's got an interesting match with OpTic tomorrow. They look like they can split searches. We know OpTic's S&D issues from the last split. I think New York's got a very good chance to make the grand finals. For FaZe, listen, tomorrow might be the last day of the trio. I think if they lose to Toronto, it's blood up time for this team. I really do.
If FaZe get top 6, the trio might be.
I think the only person that is undroppable by the trio is Simp. I would not drop Zach. Zach has played very good down the stretch here. I think it's
somebody. I'm glad you said it before we did.
I've been on stream for literally weeks, brother.
No, we've been cooked for it.
Yeah, because I mean,
I'm having it cooked for it, but I honestly believe it.
I said it on stream as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I also said it on stream.
Sometimes, like when you just team together for just so long, that magic just runs out. There's just too much built up just shit going on. They can't fight through it.
The only problem is like actually dropping one of these guys has got to be like the hardest pill to swallow.
You're instantly making another team better.
Yeah, exactly.
Sell on Toronto.
Exactly.
GG.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Or aBeZy, either of them.
Bro,
like,
you could drop any of these people, and if you see aBeZy on Toronto, you see Cellium on Toronto, you see aBeZy on fucking OpTic, you're just like, yeah, fuck me, right?
yeah.
The thing about it too
careful.
is I do think if they do get top 6 here, I do think that they should make a change. But the situation is weird because the grass isn't always greener. And if I'm a player on this team, in my head I'm like, we're guaranteed grand finals at this point. Almost, without averaging a grand final, and we've just been choking it. Like, I would rather be there on Sunday playing in that series every day of the week than fighting to get there at every tournament.
That's the thing. It's just going to be
like if we choke them, we're there.
There's also the copium.
Always impossible to say with FaZe if that was to occur exactly what you do right with the team, because if you let anyone go, you probably make another team better. There's obviously also been talk about, okay, do you change up the coaching staff or something? But and I'm sure that on a personal level, it seems like they still get along well. But sometimes things have to come to an end at some point. But it will depend, I think, on what happens today. But Scrappy versus Drazah, that's just such a banger game. It's the culmination, really, of the storyline to the entire season in many respects. That's why I was really hoping to see another Toronto FaZe matchup on LAN this season. The fact that it's happening now at the World Championship on this kind of stakes, when it's not even, grand finals would be great, obviously. And sure, maybe in some ways that would be better. But at the same time, the fact that, the loser of this tournament has such a bad result that things are going to have to be seriously thought about and potentially changed, that maybe makes things even spicier in some respects as well. This is pretty interesting, though, that Simp, aBeZy, and Nastie is the only 2 trios to win COD Champs together twice on 2 occasions, 2019, 2021 for these guys. But HyDra, Skyz, Kiz, they could potentially do it again and go back-to-back, actually. But, of course, they have to get past OpTic first. That's going to be far from easy, as I said earlier. I think the OpTic guys, from an SMG perspective, they can match up the way they're playing right now versus HyDra and Kiz. Whether, Dashy and certainly Kenny steps it up a little bit, that's a question because, HyDra is absolutely cooking right now, and these are his numbers over the last couple of years. Every year so far, in terms of KD perspective, he's actually got better. Now, I'm not sure I'm expecting this 1.25 to stay, but, just because he's going to play from now to the end of the tournament only very hard competition, but it is HyDra, and we know what this guy tends to perform like. So this is currently how the bracket stands, and to get from here to the grand finals, we have to get through 5 games of today, and these are going to be those 5 games. So FaZe versus Toronto, Thieves, Heretics. This is so difficult to call. My brain says FaZe should win and are playing the better cards, but something tells me that Scrappy is going to do it again and somehow get the winner over FaZe, but I just don't know. It's a coin toss. It's going to be remarkable. Thieves versus Miami. I also don't know how to call this one because I feel like if it goes 5, I want to lean Miami's way. I actually think I'm going to take Heretics to win this, which would be quite the storyline for them to get top 4, actually. But I feel like it might be justified because when I look at series that I don't know how to call, I just say, okay, if it goes 5, who's going to win? And, I'd probably lean Miami's way. OpTic New York, where to even begin with this one? New York Subliners are going to be favourites here, the way they're currently playing. And I think that I may well take Subliners to win this one, but then OpTic to win the losers finals later in the day, whoever they play. But very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Thanks to Underdog Fantasy. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.